listening to European Parliamentary Research Service podcast on capacity building as part of EU efforts on counter-terrorism.
Terrorism knows no boundaries. As a consequence, never before have external and internal security been so intertwined.
Based on these two premises, the European Union has developed an extensive toolkit of human and financial resources to get to the root of the problem and help third countries to better manage and mitigate terrorist threats. Want to know more? Stay with us.
When terrorists brought down the Twin Towers in 2001, the world's security landscape changed forever.
Suddenly, leaders in the US and around Europe realised that what happened abroad could have a profound impact at home, blending forever the conventional boundaries between internal and external security.
In 2016, a total of 142 failed, foiled and completed attacks took place in 8 EU member states, claiming the lives of, coincidentally, 142 citizens. But terrorism not only threatens our security, but also the fundamental values and freedoms of our democratic societies.
This is why, despite the primary responsibility in the fight against terrorism lying within the member states, the role of the EU has grown over the years, and the need for a coordinated EU approach is now widely recognised.
EU countries have also acknowledged the need to develop a multifaceted counter-terrorism strategy, mixing soft and hard power and broadening the scope to include a whole new range of tools and actions.
Now, a key element of this new approach to security is capacity building in partner countries. But what does this mean?
The realisation that development and security are mutually reinforcing and dependent elements shifted the focus from traditional state security to capacity building, which is about empowering third countries to tackle their own security, governance and stability.
The belief is that long-term engagement in governance, peace and capacity building will lead to long-term sustainable development and help to create peaceful and resilient societies, diminishing the security threat both within these countries and abroad.
The EU's external capacity building efforts in counter-terrorism also include measures to reform partner countries' security sectors, such as strengthening the rule of law, improving the governance of security providers, strengthening border management, reforming the armed forces, and training law enforcement actors. But let's look into each of these areas in greater detail.
The EU finances myriad projects aimed at ensuring the proper functioning of justice systems and strengthening the rule of law, such as witness protection programs in the Western Balkans and projects to build effective criminal justice systems to combat terrorism and address the problem of foreign fighters.
Under the umbrella of the Common Security and Defence Policy, the EU has also launched operations to strengthen the judicial systems in third countries. One example is EUPOL COPS, the police and rule of law mission for the Palestinian territories, active since 2006.
Another field of capacity building is law enforcement and internal security, where EU funds are being used to help security actors such as the police, border guards and intelligence agencies to address multiple security threats.
To support these efforts, the EU has launched several missions within the Common Security and Defence Policy, such as EUCAP Somalia, which aims at strengthening maritime security to better fight piracy ashore and at sea.
Organised crime networks and terrorist groups benefit from permeable borders, which allow criminals to escape prosecution, to move weapons and fighters easily, and to establish trafficking and smuggling routes.
That's why the EU is also investing in strengthening land and sea border management in third countries, with projects to modernise border crossings and to better involve border communities in the management of borders. The EU has also set up military and civilian operations, such as EU NAVFOR Sophia and EU BAM Libya, to increase capacity building in this field.
Other EU missions, such as EUTM Somalia and EUTM Mali, are providing military training and advice to national armed forces to help them better defend their countries against the terrorist threat.
Building resilience in third countries is also an important objective of the EU Global Strategy, which aims at enhancing the Union's security. To achieve this, the Union is funding community-level projects to counter radicalisation and violent extremism.
As part of this multifaceted assistance, in 2016 the EU adopted an action plan to curb terrorist funding and is stepping up efforts to improve strategic communication to counter online terrorist propaganda and extremism.
That's a lot of activities to fund. So where's the money coming from? Let's take a look.
The money comes essentially from 6 main funds. The instrument, contributing to stability and peace, funds initiatives in the areas of crisis response, conflict prevention and peace building, and is currently supporting law enforcement agencies to counter the threat of Boko Haram in Nigeria and Burkina Faso.
The European Neighbourhood Instrument aims at advancing democracy, the rule of law and respect for human rights in the EU's eastern and southern neighbourhoods. And the Instrument for Pre-Accession Assistance supports reforms through providing financial and technical help to EU enlargement countries.
The European Union Emergency Trust Fund for Africa was created in 2015 as a response to the refugee crisis and is funding projects in Mali and Niger to strengthen police information systems.
To promote democracy and human rights, the EU also set up the European Instrument for Democracy and Human Rights. And finally, there's the Peace Facility for Africa, which supports regional efforts towards peace and security.
The link between security and development has also been recognised by the European Parliament, which has repeatedly stressed the need to strengthen capacity building in partner countries.
MEPs have also given the thumbs up to measures aimed at boosting the EU's external counter-terrorism efforts, such as tougher rules on money laundering, an obligation for internet providers to delete online terrorist propaganda, tighter controls on arms exports, and more funds for counter-terrorism capacity building activities in third countries.
In July 2017, MEPs set up a special committee to analyse existing gaps in the fight against terrorism across the EU and seek closer international cooperation in response to the cross-border nature of the threat.
A threat which is not likely to disappear, quite the opposite in the coming years. So we can only hope that the EU's multifaceted strategy to address both the root causes and the symptoms of terrorism and radicalisation will bear fruit.
You're listening to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcasts.